during these 20 years. So in spite of my work experience, 10 years at the public school and as a director of studies at the public school, 8 years at the language center and a teacher and teaching method specialist. And last 2 years, I've been working for myself, and I'm freelancer and self-employed teacher, private English teacher. So my students are young adults from 6 to 18 years old and adult students. So in spite of my work experience, I consider teachers need to continue their education all the time. That's why last year I applied for the course CELTP, and off and on I participate in different kind of teaching trainings. And today the session will dedicate to the tips and tricks at work with primary learners. And the work online. Maybe you will, who doesn't work online, you can use it for your offline lessons. Hope it will be useful for you as well. And today I'd like to share some thoughts and ideas which came into my mind within the process of learning. During last year, I realized that I lack of knowledge about the psychological and neuropsychological aspects. And as well lack knowledge as a speech therapist. But you know, because we are teachers, we're teachers of language, so we should help our students to develop their speech skills, speaking skills, and how to work with the connecting speech and how to learn them to speak fluently. So as psychological aspect is really significant for me as an essential moment. It's to build the relationship with your students, which is based on the trust, support, kindness, warmth, love, and try to connect, try to find a connection between us. So neuropsychological aspects. Creating the lesson plan, we should think about the development of students' self-regulation, attention, memory, and self-control. These are key moments for effective and productive learning. And the next one is a speech therapist aspect. Because it's very necessary to know how the speech is born and what should be done to start speaking and what does the process start with. Maybe I hope you know that any kind of language start with the separated words. Yeah. Firstly, these are separated nouns, the next one verbs, action verbs, and so on and so on. They are connected to the phrases, the next one, the short sentences. And you know, if you every single lesson repeat only separated words, the connected speech doesn't develop. It's from the aspect of the neuropsychological and speech as a speech therapist. So in this basis, I would like to share some practical exercises, what I do every kind of lesson with my students. I would like to share some photos, videos, and so on. So it's very easy to use. I said, if you remember who participated last session, you heard my idea about the real teacher is that teacher who can run the lesson only me, boat, and the chalk, yeah, or marker. If you can do it, it's a really professional way of teaching. Why we shouldn't use just the paper, maybe the whiteboard, marker, and also active white where the students can draw, write down some sentences, separated words, and so on. And I will share some photos and some ideas. So this one, for primary learners, you can use it. It's the whiteboard. You can share these both with your students. First step, you can write down the words. You can see these are topics including the school, family, and maybe family and maybe toys. And you can print them and your students can read it. It's the first step. The next step, I can say them to find and read themselves word number, for example, number 6. The student can find and read it. The next step, you can build the sentence, create the sentence. At this age, the students know the pronouns. Yeah, we can use it. We can give them the frame for their sentence, and they can make their own sentences. Like, I am a boy. Yeah, and create sentences. The next step, for example, with the next students, how do you think? What is this topic about? The students were drawing some pictures which associated with some kind of topic. How do you think which one? Do you have any ideas? These are adjectives. Adjectives, yeah. So every single student, they choose the adjective and try to draw the picture which associated with this adjective. For example, it's not the competition for the ideal and talented artist, of course. Yeah. And look, this is my picture. I'm not good at drawing, absolutely, I cannot draw. But the students understood that it means low. So you imagine, yeah, these are banks of the river, for example, this is the river. So it's low. This one is a safe, for example, and this is a high mountains, yeah. And with different groups, we do the same task and then exchange. I take these pictures from for other groups and the picture from opposite group give for them, and we try to play and try to guess and review the vocabulary and then use them in their exercises, in their speaking. So for example, this one, first of all, you can see in my group there are 3 students. I divided the boat into 3 columns, write down their names, and divided each column into 3 parts: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. First of all, of course, it's funny moment. I give the task for instruction. Let's imagine, or maybe you know what your family members eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they draw something. It's a soup, maybe salad, coffee, and so on and so on. It doesn't matter. And then we will ask each other, what's this? And what does your mom or what does your dad have for breakfast, for lunch, and dinner? So we are working on their speaking skills and ask the questions and interaction. So, for example, I would like to share some kind of this task. It's adapting the reading materials, reading exercise. I divide the group of students into 3 and give each paragraph about the character for some number of students. For example, one student, they read the paragraph about Sabina. The second group of students read the paragraph about Sharon and Sylvia. And after that, they should complete the chart about for their own, on their own sheet of paper, about the clothes. What kind of information did they find about the clothes, about the place, about the dishes, according to this character from the reading task. After that, I will complete or collect them into breakout rooms and exchange all the time. And they should ask the question about what does Sabina wear at that on this special occasion day? What does Sharon eat at that day? And so on and so on. And other students complete the information about other characters. So they, and finally, they have got the whole information. And after that, we will meet for the conference and discuss. And I have some questions for everyone about every character. So the next one, just a second. I would like to share video material. But first of all, if you don't have time, for example, I have more than 40 hours a week of classes. So you don't have time for preparation. Yeah, it's busy. We have got to play a lot of on your own plate. So what can you do? You can follow your intuition, the feelings of your students. And you are feeling that your students are tired here and right now. And you are talking about the feelings or emotions. Can you see there are below our pictures, below our photos, the sign like a reaction? Yeah, can you see here on the Zoom? Yeah. If you open them, you can see a lot of emojis. Yes, like this. Yeah, thank you, Liana. It's great. Yeah, and for example, just 1 hour ago, I had the class with my students who are 7 years old. Okay, and I said, first of all, how are you today? How are you feeling? And they're showing their reaction for today's. Of course, I trust them and support, encourage them all the time and said, oh, I'm feeling today like this. Yeah. And then they show their reaction, their emotions. And then I ask, okay, let's play with the vocabulary. So I will show their emotion, any kind of emotion, and you will show this emotion on your screen. Okay? Or I'll give the situation. For example, I haven't eaten a lot anything this day. I need to eat something. So I need to have a breakfast, for example. How am I feeling? Let's guess. Yeah. And different students use different images, emojis, yeah, emotions. Maybe like this. Yeah. Who knows? And then I'll share my emotion, which I've chosen for them. Or I'm so tired today and I haven't slept the whole night. How I'm feeling, like this way. Yeah, thank you, Livana. Hamburgers, nice. It's necessary for some people right now. Okay, and then we will play this game and ask the questions. For example, one student choose their emotion, and we will ask them, are you tired? Are you sleepy? poor girl, Livana. You're hungry. So are you hungry? And Livana show your emotion. Yeah, I'm hungry today. You can build the speaking exercise. You can work. And the students, I can say that students like this exercise because you can choose the hobbies, for example. A lot of science there about the playing violin, playing drums, go skiing, I don't know, cooking, and so on. And about countries, for example, where are you from? I'm from China. Yeah. Where are you from? I'm from Great Britain, and so on and so on. Yeah, you can use a lot of. It's very funny for the primary students. And I would like to share the video Where we play, just give me a second. I'll open this video. Yeah. How we, no, not this one. Sorry. Just a second. Give me a moment. Oh no. Like this, for example. So I'm ready to share, but it's a little bit different. This is emotion, but they based on the listening exercise. We are, while we are doing the listening exercise, we are showing some emotions. Not only guess what emotion is this character feeling at that moment. So, video.
No, I'm not. It's Kate's party on Saturday, and I can't go.
Yesenia has chosen which feeling. Oh, everyone think. What are you thinking about? She's sad. Let's check.
Stop. Are you okay, Anna? No, I'm not. It's Kate's party on Saturday, and I can't go. I'm sad.
I'm sad. And the last.
So you can do combine the fun moment, pleasure, yeah, the children always motivated, engaged, involved in the class. So what else? We can use, for example, this kind of exercise. Oh, just a second. So, for example, if you know this course book, it's a go-getter to the second part. So, and inside of this course book, there are a lot of comics. And you can use this kind of exercise. First of all, you watch video. You can use the structure, grammar structure of present continuous, and muted, watching the video muted, and try to guess and describe what are the characters doing. And then I'll show these pictures. These pictures are not they're in disorder, and they should guess which picture was the first in the story and put into the correct order them. So, or another kind, the same, but or the second part of this exercise, you match with each picture the phrases which they heard while they were watching video. You don't have a lot of equipments and tools for that. I do everything just in the presentation, as a presentation. Or this one, maybe you know this book, yeah? Someone recognized it? No? Academy Stars book. And as well, I cut off the picture, comics, and they listen to, then put these pictures into the correct order. We describe a little bit before reading, and we can see the phrases, and we can choose these phrases and put into the correct order as well, match them. A lot of or this kind of, with some students we are learning the rooms, the describing of rooms, the furniture, the pieces of furniture, and so on and so on. The homework was about choose 5 sentences and describe your room. But the students in the group, they don't know what kind of picture the other students have. That's why while the student is describing, the other students should be very attentive and careful, yeah, and they listen to and try to guess which picture their classmate, group mate are describing at that moment. Or another way, this one is about present continuous tenses. You can use, yeah. So you can do this task at the class, and the one student starts describing. Okay, one person is washing the window. The girls are sitting on the floor, on the ground, and they're playing with dolls. The cat is climbing. Which picture is this? I hope you could guess, yeah? It's not difficult for you. So, and you can do a lot of tasks from nothing. You should find just pictures on the internet, which were a lot of on the internet, and print for the search as a picture for describing rooms, or picture for describing present continuous. And you can see a lot of library which you can use at your class, or maybe you can use your own course book, student book, and adapt this material, make it much funnier and pleased for your students. So I have a lot of materials, but I'm afraid the time is limited. That's why maybe next time, or maybe who will be more interested in it, we could connect next time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Landysh. Yay, that was inspiring. Thank you. I think the part where we can use the textbooks and make it into more communicative materials is one of the most important things, yeah. Especially if you are a school teacher who have to follow your textbook, yeah, but also wants your student to practice English more communicatively. So you might be able to use those tips from Landysh. And also, if you have your own tips, you can always exchange the ideas with us in during the discussions sessions, yeah, after the second talk. Now, the one thing that I learned a lot from Landysh is to use the existing feature in Zoom. Yeah, so as she mentioned that we can, it's almost like we can really utilize what we already have in this platform, yeah. And also for me, I think it's quite important to teach the learners how to interact with this platform, because we can also raise their digital literacy, you know, like to make them more aware on the skills and raise the skill in this area. But of course, we might need to, yeah, but I think we have to brief them first. Don't you think that we have to let them know how to really use it first, how to interact with it? Yeah. So like a briefing before we really use it. Okay, thank you so much, Landysh. Now, all right, thank you. Now we are going to be more inspired, yeah, by the second talk that will be delivered by Svetlana. All right, let me show her, Svetlana.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, so shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay, so once again, hello everybody. Thank you for having me here, and Landysh, a special thing for you for having invited me here, because I had no idea about the existence of such a conference. Yeah, so just probably a little remark to start with. So I wouldn't say that what I'm going to talk about is something innovative. I would say that these are my insights, the insights I got from my teaching experience, because the things I use and I would like to introduce today are as old as hills. I mean, they're really old, but they are very often underestimated, neglected, or even ignored. So I just want to bring them back to life, so to say, yeah. So, okay. Just a sec to start. So, well, basically, I'm gonna talk and I'm gonna share my top 5 warmers to kickstart your lessons. Okay, this is the way I call them. Okay, just probably I'm gonna skip it as Liviana has already introduced me. Okay, so here we go. Just a short story before we actually start. So a couple of years ago, I noticed that my students were making like very little progress in listening and speaking, no matter how extensive their vocabulary was or how many grammatical structures they were aware of. And as the result, they kept silent and they were not that fluent the way I expected them to be. And they were unable to understand people speaking real English. Well, especially natives, that was probably the biggest problem. And what I've come up to, that speaking is not actually reading, well, definitely, but we are mainly taught the written language, but not the one that real people use to speak. Yeah, definitely, we use a lot of different tools. We introduce listening exercises, we introduce different accents, but still, it's a huge problem and obstacle for further listening. And I actually started shifting the focus from teaching listening skills, which are basically developed, especially with adults. They just transit them from their L1 to L2, so it's not a huge problem at all. So from teaching listening skills like listening for gist, listening for detail, to teaching how to pronounce words, how to articulate them, and how the words and phrases are realized in real life. So that was my second insight, actually, that speaking is purely physical. To after something we really use like parts of our body. We use lungs, we use larynx, we use lots of different organs of articulation. And the thing is that in Russian, we do it in a different way. In English, we have to adjust our organs to produce the sounds we want. And as soon as you know how things work, you can really recognize them when you hear them. So, and at the moment, I own a collection of activities that I started introduce into my classroom, and I do it on a regular basis. Like every class, I start with one of these, sometimes two of these. Well, anyway, it's up to you. So here we go. The first thing I do is I introduced a phonetic warmer. So like really a number of exercises to warm up your organs of articulation. So, and today I would like to demonstrate that. So actually there's a lot of information you can find about that online. So it's not a secret. It's not something totally new. But so these are my 5 top phonetic exercises to start any lesson. Again, no matter how old your students are. So the first one is smile and kiss, just to stretch the lips. Yeah, so like you really have to stretch your lips in both directions. Okay, and I normally ask them to do like 3-4 times at their own pace. And the first time I introduce, especially with adult students, I let them just turn their cameras off if they feel a bit I don't know, shy, yeah, or uncomfortable. Okay, the second one is like, I call it mouse massage. Well, actually you have to rotate your tongue like inside, clockwise and counterclockwise. It looks like that. Yeah, so just to warm up the inner muscles, your inner facial muscles. Again, 3-4 rounds. Okay, the third one is tongue stretching. So it's time to do that. Well, some of my students are super cold here. Well, you have to stretch your tongue and try to touch your chin or your nose. Again, it's like, well, yeah, I'm not very good at touching my nose, but I'm progressing with my chin. Yeah. So again, 3-4 rounds. The fourth one is to relax the lips. So you have to breathe in deeply. It looks like that. Well, yeah. People in a cafe are looking at me, staring at me. Yeah. So and you have to do it as long as you can. Yeah. And the thing is that you can introduce your voice. You can start at a very high voice. Yeah, and then just going down. Yeah, also to warm up your vocal cords. Yeah, and the last one, the fifth, is just a total face massage. Well, actually, what I ask my students to do is, can you please grimace? Oh, this is the way it looks. So you have to warm up your forehead, your eyebrows, eyes, cheeks, nose, lips, and chin. This is the way it looks, okay? Yeah. Yeah, starting from your forehead, like what I normally say to my younger students. Okay, imagine you want to make a pizza, so you take a piece of dough and you start pressing it very, very hard because you want to make your pizza super delicious. Yeah, so this is the first step. Next, well-known tongue twisters, definitely, and I use them to work on separate sounds, weak forms, and linking. And like, for example, yeah, confusing sounds, weak forms, and linking, like that. You can start with the short ones, focusing on one sound, like for example which might be a bit problematic when teaching Russian students, so we don't tend to open our mouth like really wide. So like for example, a black bag bat, a black bag bat. Yeah, so you focus on the sound, and the first thing I do is I normally explain the way we should say it, so how we should open the mouth, what should we do with lips, teeth, and so on, all these little things, just to make it really physical and something real they can feel. So I can do that with my mouth, so I can do that, I can control. Like for example, to practice confusing vowels like very well. Yeah. And ideally, if the tongue twister is short, I recommend to try and pronounce it minimum 3 times and like speeding up every time. Like for example, very well, probably in a very exaggerated manner. Like very well, very well, very well, very well, very well. So this is like, okay, this one is my favorite, to focus on weak forms. Yeah, like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, 1 and then a 2 and then a 3 and then a 4. So every time you keep the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and then a 2 and then a 3 and then a 4. So you have to be able to, to manage saying the words in between the stressed forms. Again, you start saying it very slowly and speeding up. Okay, a glass of water and a shot of whiskey. Yeah, again, we focus on linking and the way consonants are realized in real speech, because we don't say a glass of water. Yeah, it's going to be a glass of. a glass of water, a shot of whiskey. Again, I normally explain all these little nuances, and very often they say, oh, really, it's not off? So that's where it comes from. You see off, but you don't hear off. So that's the point. That's my point. Again, they are really great tools because they help you strengthen and really warm the muscles involved in speaking. You show, well, actually, tongue twister shows which sounds or phonetic phenomena are difficult for you, and definitely it's fun. Anyway, it's always fun. With a group of students, I normally have like tongue twister monster competition. Like every class I start with a tongue twister, the best one. So this is telling you I started introducing it like last month only. Vowels are consonants exercise actually used to work on recognizing vowels and consonants in stressed and unstressed positions, and you do it like that. For example, I'm giving a clip at the moment. This is way those on the vowels and so and only the vowels. Focus on, for example, the position of the same vowel. Like for example, talk. We don't normally say talk. Yeah, it's like giving a talk. It's like a schwa sound, and you have to say it isolated, like yeah, I, o, f, o. Okay, so this is the way it works. Well, it's really challenging and tricky, and I exercised that before my class starts. Actually, yeah. The second round, you focus and you pronounce consonants only. Yeah, you can try doing it. Yeah, it's like m, g, v, n, the, m, m, yeah. So again, for example, with the ing form, we don't say n, g, we're gonna say m. Again, this is the focus to the way consonant pronounced. Yeah. So you using this or introducing this exercise, you can recognize vowels and consonants, recognize the differences between confusing sounds, and imitate the way well, we speak real English when like native speak real English, like that. Okay, the fourth and the fifth are pretty similar. So speedy dictations or speed dictation. So to work on sentence stress, weak forms, and linking. So what I mean, so for example, so the first task is your task is to say the sentence in a very natural way. Your students should just write it down. Like for example, I should have bought it. As much as they can understand, as much as they can get. So this is like round one. Then, so you check what they can understand. Then round two, you pronounce the same sentence, but a bit more slowly. I should have bought it. And every time you slow down, I should have bought it. So at the end, they have the final version of it. And again, why it is a really cool thing, because here you can focus on the way, for example, we pronounce weak forms, because should have are weak forms here. And weak forms are never pronounced and never realized in the language in the way we pronounce them isolated, like should. So here's the should. So you're gonna actually pronounce only the consonants. Should, shouldn't. One more thing. Well, I guess it's more about American way to say. This final t is actually placed between the two vowels, or, bought, and the next I. And that's where we have this flap T, which makes boarded. It sounds like D, not T. You should have bought it. You should have bought it. Okay. And again, by using this activity, you can focus and practice sentence stress with forms, linking. You can introduce or revise a grammar structure. For example, you dictate a sentence and then you ask, what do you think it means? What are the situations? What is the context? I can use this phrase. Yeah, or just introduce the topic of a lesson. For example, you're going to talk about regrets. Yeah. So, and the last one, I call it mini shadowing. Well, probably you might be familiar with this kind of activity, but I call it mini shadowing because I use only one sentence because it's a warmer. Yeah, so to work on it, sentence stress, linking, intonation in a context. So normally I introduce a phrase. Well, it doesn't matter here, spoken or written. And then we brainstorm when and where it can be said, who can say that, or how people say that. And then I show the original video where this phrase is used. And then we just copy every detail of it. So the stress, linking, pausing, intonation, tempo, and then we can just role play them. So, and again, there are a couple of benefits of using this activity. So you can see the way real life situations take place, what and how people actually respond, and introduce a new topic or a grammar structure. So anyway, this is like kind of my motto. So remember, everything you do, enjoy it. And one little thing, sorry, and I'm going to finish. One little thing. Oh, it skipped my mind. Okay, never mind. So thank you. Yeah, so these are in my context in case you want to like talk or just ask for advice or whatever. I guess yes.
Thank you so much, Svetlana. I think it's safe to say that I can share your contacts to the participants later in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. Speaking exercise with all of this phonics, I would say I myself are not familiar. I am not really familiar with that. But it's really great to start with something like that, isn't it? I mean, because as you said that it is something physical, yeah. So because speaking is physical, so you have to start warming up before we really speak it out.
Yeah, just like you, for example, if you go to the gym, before you actually start exercising, you warm up your body, you get prepared. So
exactly.
That, yeah.
Just one quick question, Svetlana. How does it go in an online class, do you think? Or based on your experience, how does it go in online class?
Online, offline, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter.
Right. Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing it to us. All right. So, thank you. Pleasure. Yeah. Okay, great. So by the end of the second talk, yeah, this will be the end for us to enter the discussion session. Yeah. So if everyone has the questions, yeah, or wants to share their own tips, yeah, how do you do, for example, if you also do a speaking warm up, and how do you do it, perhaps, yeah, or maybe if you also adopt textbook into more communicative exercises, then how do you do that? Yeah, so if you would like to share it to us, please feel free to do that. And one more thing, if you questions, okay, if that's okay, you can click on the raise hand button down there so I can see you. Yeah, but yes, okay, so who was it again? Oh, Halima. Okay, Halima, please.
I have a question on how to encourage students to speak up during the classroom, because most of them feel that they are reluctant and they hesitate to participate inside the classroom.
Fantastic, thank you. All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Halimaya. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Okay. What do you do to encourage speaking in your classroom? Now, this questions is not only for the speakers, yeah, but if any of us wants to, if any of you, yeah, would like to share your own tips, then please feel free to do that. You can chat us with the chat tab below, yeah. But of course, I would like to ask if our speakers has an idea, yeah, like what do you normally do perhaps in your classroom? Landysh, perhaps would you like to start?
Yep.
Go ahead.
It's a typical question.
Mm.
When they are not so confident, the students are not confident, they're too shy, and so on and so on. And I always say it's a psychological moment. If you can build the trustful, supportive, caring atmosphere in your classroom, when okay, you can use the first mother tongue language at the beginning, at the start of the class, and you just ask. You can see your student feeling not good today, yeah, he's upset or she's upset. Why not to ask about it? What's happening? If you don't want to walk or you cannot participate in some parts of the class, okay, it's okay, it's great. You have the right to be upset today, or not feeling good today. It's okay. Let's watch, and when you will be ready, you can join us. So give the right for them, and all the time it works. In my situation, at my classes, it all the time works. So, for example, just some days ago, the new student came to my class, and she refused to communicate with me. Absolutely. And it's online class. Can you imagine? Yeah. Her mom was sitting next to her. She was answering the question, and she didn't look at me. She covering her face. And I said, okay, you can turn off the camera if you are not ready, because I'm not the monster. You can just watch how our class is going and what I am doing at the class. And it's possible to use mother tongue language, because sometimes it's like they are always under the pressure. No mistake, be perfect, don't accept yourself. It's not okay. It's not good. So nowadays, she's participating very actively at the class. She's very wise, she's very clever, she's very smart girl.
Right, thank you, Landysh. Multilingualism in the classroom, I like that idea to make use of our first language, basically, yeah, to help us and to help us during learning and teaching. And also, I personally also use the peer discussions. So if, for example, your students does not want to talk to you, then they might want to talk to the peer, yeah, to the other classmates. So maybe you can split them into the breakout room and create an activity where they can talk to each other, yeah. So maybe that might more comfortable for them than to directly talk to the teacher in the big class, in the big forum, perhaps. Yeah. And Svetlana here has a brilliant idea about icebreakers and team building activities. If you have a specific tip, Svetlana, if you would like to share it to us, please.
Well, I totally agree with Landysh. Yeah, so the first thing is their comfort, the feeling of comfort, definitely. And what I normally do when I don't know what to say or how to, I ask questions. What makes you feel good? Can you please tell me what do you want to feel good? So yeah, probably basically that's it. Just communication, dialogue.
Right, making the learners comfortable, yeah. Starting with by asking some casual questions perhaps will be work too, like for example, around what they like, their hobbies, something like that, whether they have eaten their lunch or not, what did they eat for lunch and something like that. Yeah. And Mary also has a great idea here. Yeah, reward. Yes, please.
One more. Some words, and don't be afraid of making some foolish things yourself. If
right.
you don't feel like I'm a teacher and I'm so arrogant and I can just look down at all of you and I'm the wisest and cleverest person here, no. And you can make the mistake. Accept yourself who you are. And sometimes I can jump on the chair during the class and I can start dance. It's okay for me, it's great, why not?
Yeah, right. Being a teacher, you know, I often feel that we as a teacher, we also has to be a good performer at some point, you know. That's what I feel. Okay, Aitan has raised her hand. Hello, Aitan. Would you like to share your own tips? Yes, please.
Yes, of course. Thank you for your useful information. First of all, I want to thank you, Ophelia. I want to know about how can we teach vocabulary more effectively in the class.
All right, for vocabulary in the class. But before we discuss that, if that's okay, I would like to read Mary's tips, regarding the how to encourage learning to speak. She said reward their attempt to speak, yes, and praise them just for speaking, yes, absolutely. This is one of the tips to make the learners more comfortable, I suppose. Okay, now let's come back again to Aitan's questions. Thank you very much, Aitan. Far away from Turkey.
Istanbul.
What time is it? Istanbul, all right. What time is it, by the way?
Sorry?
What time is it, by the way? In your place in Istanbul?
Yes, I'm an English teacher at secondary school here. At a private college, special school. I'm very interested in this group. I want to exchange my information with you all the time. Thank for all you.
Perfect. Thank you, Ethan. Okay, so what do you do to make your vocabulary teaching more effective or perhaps also engaging to the learners? If anyone has an idea, wish to exchange your ideas, then you are free to do so. Svetlana, you can start.
Well, the key thing for me is just revise, revisit, recycle it as often as possible. The more they use, the better. And I think all types of exercises are good here. Okay, probably depending on what they like more, what appeals to them. They might be different types of dictations, different activities like active things like fly swatters, hitting, jumping, passing cards, anything will do. Just the key thing is just revise it as often as possible.
Right. Thank you, Svetlana. I heard about it, I guess, that it is quite important to, like Svetlana said, that we keep recycling and revisit the phrases or the word that we use with the children. One thing that I do with the very lower level of students is, for example, to introduce them with the pre-verb phrase, like, for example, I like, or my favorite is blah blah blah, and then they can continue the rest of the sentence. Like, for example, if we talk about food, then they can just continue with I like hamburger, I like banana, and at the other day we can visit this phrase again. If we talk about phrases, then we can visit the phrases again when we talk about sports, or sport, let's say, or places perhaps. Then my favorite place is blah blah blah. So there are many ways, I guess, to keep recycling and also revisiting words or phrases. Then we can discuss more about this. Now let's check the chat. We introduced one or more than one word every day, and after 1 week or month, we took assessment of these words to young learners. Okay, so making a short-term assessment, I guess, yeah, that's what Sidra, that's Sidra's tips for us. Introduce one or more than one words every day, okay, and after a week, and then we take the assessment. Okay, so short-term assessment. That might work well, yeah. Fantastic. Thank you, Sidra. Okay. Yes, Landysh.
One more, yeah. As I presented last year, yeah, about the flashcards, a lot of flashcards we have got. We can jump on them, we can pass them, we can play with them. Total physical response. I like when the children do something, yeah. Use your body to remember, because most of the words you can remember through our body. So we can hear what we are speaking and what our body is able to remember. Especially these are action verbs, yeah, like kick, jump, and so
on. Okay, thank you, Landysh. Thank you. Yes, flashcard can be a very, very useful aid, because I also think that using pictures can be really useful. I also sometimes just display a picture on my screen if you talk about an online class, and then ask the student what they see on the picture, what are the people doing in the picture, you know, basically just use the pictures and explore it for learning, whether vocabularies or even grammar, basically. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna check the chat again. Svetlana mentioned, as for my classes, after the warmer, I spend 5 to 10 minutes to revise everything. Okay, this is great, yeah. Or almost everything. The most difficult one. Okay, yes. So you spend 5 or 10 minutes to revise everything. That reminds me to Maze here, yeah. Last March, sorry, on February, yeah, on the first talk, yeah. She also shared about the importance of revising, yeah. So when you start a new topic, please revise the previous lesson before you continue. That reminds me with that. Thank you, Svetlana and May. Okay. To Landysh, there is Rahma. Yeah, she asked, do you have any reference for website in getting free ebook? Okay, this is important. Free ebook or worksheets? Would you like to share that? Okay. Landysh.
So for primary students, ebook. So you cannot imagine that how much you can find. Even just put what you are looking for in the Google or Yandex search link or something like that. You just write down, for example, clothes for vocabulary, and a lot of information you can find. I just do this one. Or live worksheets I use, and word wall. Can I share? Everyone I know, I think, no?
Yes, you can share if you like.
Okay, just a second. This one, maybe this one will be used because I just used it today. This is for reading. The first step for reading, starfall.com. It's very useful. I like this one. Maybe someone use worldwallnet.net. So, for example, I needed today fun for movers, parts of body. I put it in the search, and a lot of information. And of course, it's a live worksheet. This one. And if it will be useful, but for example, for adult students, maybe someone will be interested. I have found very great electronic books. It's here. I'm reading A Man Called Uber, and there are a lot of library of books in different languages, and it's very productive and effective for your students, helpful. But a little, maybe it's possible to change the language because most of them are in Russian, but I think it's possible. This is the name, liteka.ru. I liked it. It's amazing.
Okay. I really hope that we can change the language into English, really. Okay. Now, I would like to read some other 2 tips, perhaps, yeah, that I spot on the chat tab. We mentions come back to the questions about speaking, yeah, how to encourage learners to speak. Do speaking projects every month. Okay, so there is kind of maybe task-based learning, yeah, that you assign a project to learners that will allow them to speak a lot there, perhaps, yeah. So I do some experiments with my students. I would love to hear what kind of experiments this is, yeah. But let's hold that first. And then Ayumi also has a brilliant idea here. When I introduce new vocabularies, sometimes I ask them to see the product package using bilingual like Nodal, cosmetic, or Realia, yeah? Using Realia, yes, this can be really useful. Cosmetic products, and it's just to motivate them at first. So they will think that English is fun and everywhere and it works, yeah? To find the relations between the first language to the second language, yeah? Fantastic, thank you. Okay, and Marty. Yes.
Livana, can I say, I mentioned that the time is limited for me, that it's up, I have to go. I'm so sorry. If you will have some question, post me, send me these questions, okay?
Yes, that's all right.
Thank you for having me. Hugs and kisses for everyone.
Thank you so much.
Landysh.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, Landysh mentioned this before. Yes, thank you so much for being here, Landysh. So again, if you have any other questions to Landysh, you can post it in the chat, in the WhatsApp group, yeah, or in the chat here, and I can pass it to Landysh. All right. Take care, Landysh. Take care. Okay, I will come back again to the chat tab here. Amarty, sorry if I'm wrong. Romalayan, yeah, he mentions, I always review and revise everything you have learned before. Again, revising the previous lesson before going further to the next lesson. Make sure that students understand at least 80-90%. That's a large percentage, yeah. But yeah, I agree with this. Revision. It's very important. Okay, and liveworksheet.com is nice. Yes. Landysh mentioned live worksheet, WordWall, and ITK. Is it Liteka or ITK? Sorry, I think it's, yeah, ITK. Aitan mentioned Kahoot. Yeah, Kahoot. Remember, if you came to last week's sessions, yeah, with Olaf from Mexico, he also mentioned lots of useful websites, yeah, that you can use. And not to worry, I'm going to share it again to the participants group. Yeah. Kahoot and quizzes are efficient and challenging. That's important. I remember Richard last month, he also mentions that the more it's challenging, the more it's fun, I guess. Yeah. It's fun. It's strange, but it is true. Okay. Languageguide.org, pictures and audio. That's the useful website as well from Ayumi. And then Nearpod. This is the first time I've heard of it. Nearpod. Is it for listening, Miss Din?
I think I wrote it wrong.
Oh, okay. That's all right. That's right. Okay. OneStopEnglish.com from Wiwit. Okay, I will make sure that I will transfer all of these useful websites to the chat. I hope I won't forget. Okay. Yeah, so I think that will be all for the, oh, okay, one last questions. Okay, I'm so sorry everyone, but our time is limit. It's quite late in some countries. For example, in Indonesia, yeah, it's quite late now. But not to worry again, because Teachers Talk lasts until November. So you can always come back next month and discuss again with us, yeah? Okay, Mr. Miftahul, please raise your questions or feedback to us.
Thank you, Miss Leviana, for the time. I have a question with goes to anyone who wants to answer it. Well, the real problem in my class is most of my students has limited vocabulary. So this is a very big problem to maximize their active in class participation. So the question is, how could we make them speak up or more active in speaking while they have poor vocabularies? What do you think of this question? Thank you.
My pleasure, our pleasure, Mr. Miftahul. Svetlana, you turn on your video, so you would like to... Yes, go ahead.
Just the first things that came up to my head, like probably to extend their vocabulary, you may, like, for example, revise the vocabulary they know, like, for example, I don't know, six words, and then you add one more. The next lesson you revise 6 words and add one more. Like within a week or like a month, you, okay, 1 or 2 words, so you can extend gradually with a bit of revision. And to motivate them to speak, probably, well, it depends on how old they are. You may introduce this activity that Liliana mentioned today. Finish my sentence. When you give a modal, for example, my favorite is I like, and like, okay, now please talk to your partner, or like, for example, if you have a group of, I don't know, 6 students, you pair them up and they have to exchange their ideas and compare if they're the same or different. And then you can, I normally use a squeeze toy if I teach young learners, online, offline, it doesn't matter. And I press the toy, like squeeze the toy, and then swap their partners and they do the same again. So they have to repeat the same sentence and interact more than once, like so like 5 times if there are 6 students. So you just one focus at a time. The thing is, then, for example, you introduce I like, you do it, then you introduce I don't like. Yeah, okay, I like cheese pizza, and then, oh, I like cheese pizza, and you, oh, I like I don't know, pepperoni pizza. Are we the same or different? Okay, we're different. Next round, I like cheese pizza, and you, oh, I like vegetables. Yucky, yummy. Then, and then, okay, and now look, and broccoli. Yuck, I don't like broccoli. They come up with the next sentence, I don't like, and they keep repeating the same strategy. Yeah, just one focus at a time, and probably one like interactive action, step by step. Like, this is the key thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, Miss. I think that's very inspiring, and I would say thank you very much from Russia. Yeah, that is far away from Russia. And may I follow with another question that is very important for me here?
The last one, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just short questions. And the second problem most of my student has is, pronunciation. Most of them have know how to write. The spelling is good, the meaning is okay, but when it comes to pronunciation, it's really big problem. Then when pronunciation is not right, the opponent of the speaker, when they make dialogue, of course they don't understand, right, the meaning. So how to fix it in a proper way, to make them right in doing pronunciation? Thank you.
Okay, so pronunciations, they can spell it well in the written task, but they might not pronounce it well. Well, I think that's also related to what Svetlana mentions, yeah, about the speaking warmer. perhaps it works. Yeah. So if you would like to do it, yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, but the easiest possible way. So once you hear that the word is mispronounced, you just give the correct modal. Then you start with a choral drilling when you ask everybody stop and pronounce. It's important so that everyone, even the shyest, take part in it and repeat it. And you can use different activities, like, for example, you can repeat the same word in a very high voice or in a very low voice, in a very loud voice or in a very quiet voice. So again, if we talk about primary students, so first choral drilling all together. And then you come up with individual drilling after that. And you can start with the stronger students. Again, they can provide an example, a model one more time, and then you come up to that person who made the mistake. But everybody takes part in this activity. Just stop, show, repeat all together, and then one by one. Oh, this is the way I do.
All right, thank you, fantastic. Rich, it seems like you turn on your microphone. Would you like to share anything?
Yes, actually, it was just to say that I'm going to follow up on Miftahol's question there as part of my kind of pedagogical overview. My plan was actually to link what Svetlana presented in her presentation to Miftahol's question, because there is an important link there. But Svetlana's gone ahead and explained it anyway, so it's fine.
All right.
Oh, you're muted, Levy.
Oops. Okay. Yeah, so again, that was the last questions, yeah, unfortunately. Yeah. But not to worry, because we are going to hear the sum up, yeah, of everything that we have discussed today. Yeah. And by the way, guys, please, I'm sorry, everyone, please make sure that you checked out the chat tab. Yeah, there are lots of interesting ideas from our peers here. Yeah, use different activities, may say it. Yeah, don't take long time for only one activities. This is to encourage speaking again. Yeah. And Romalian also mentions peer help is great. Sometimes these sort of students are reluctant to the teacher. Group activities better. Yeah. And Ayumi mentioned something called imitation technique. Yeah, giving a short video and then give them a transcript and ask them to shadow it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. There's a lots of very interesting ideas come up in the chat. Yeah. So please make sure that you checked out the chat tab as well. Okay, and yeah, that will be all for our discussions. Yeah, this time we are going to listen to some pedagogical overview, yeah, and also some sum up of everything that we have discussed today. Richard, over to you.
Thank you. Can you just confirm that you can hear me okay?
Okay, with me.
Yeah, great, thank you. My laptop is causing me lots of problems today. For some reason, the screen at the moment is shaking as if there's an earthquake happening. I'm not sure why. So I'll do my best to read through my notes without too much interruption. So firstly, thank you very much to Svetlana and also to Landysh, who's now left, for your excellent presentations. I think we covered a lot of ground today and a lot of really insightful views on teaching skills. It's an interesting thing that there tends to be a kind of divide, like a binary divide between teaching systems and skills. When I say systems, I mean vocabulary, grammar, discourse. And when I say skills, I mean things like, actually speaking, listening, reading, and writing. We tend to have a kind of binary divide between the two. Either we're teaching vocabulary and memorizing it, or grammar, or we're doing our speaking today. Ideally, we should integrate them. In an ideal world, we would be integrating them. Why do we have this binary divide? I don't know. Maybe this goes back to when grammar translation was the dominant method. Perhaps it goes back to traditional teaching. It's hard to say, but anyway, that way of thinking about language teaching still influences how we practice today. And what I really liked about both Svetlana and Landysh's presentations was the integration of the systems with the skills. There is also a tendency, perhaps, when it comes to vocabulary, of focusing on vocabulary in isolation, instead of thinking about how vocabulary fits into the language system as a whole. Perhaps this isn't a bad thing. If you think about it, if you learn a language for survival, you have to learn a language in order to survive in a new situation. Imagine you found yourself in a new country where nobody spoke English or your native language. You'd probably start with vocabulary. You'd start with food, water, house, where, before you worried about having whole dialogues. So maybe that focus on vocabulary is justified in some ways, but we know that vocabulary teaching, and this relates to Miftahu's question actually, vocabulary teaching is most effective when it's embedded in context and when it's connected to the wider use of the language. And we should always be thinking about using the language. Landysh's presentation dealt with adapting materials. Landysh mentioned that she has 40 teaching contact hours a week. I don't know how she does it. I couldn't cope with that. But anyway, that's very, very impressive. But when you have 40 contact hours a week, you don't have time to make your materials from scratch. Realistically, you're going to be using materials you already have, and you're going to be adapting them. You're going to be thinking, how can I use these materials with the class in front of me? Now, here's the problem. Even if you make really good materials for, say, your 8 or 9-year-olds, the next year you want to use them again, but now you have a completely different group of 8 or 9-year-olds who may be better, who may be worse, who may be stronger with literacy, who may be less strong with literacy, who may be more confident speakers, who may be less confident speakers. But you've already spent all that time making those materials. So you are going to use them. You're not going to make them again. Let's be honest, you don't have time. So adaptation, the skill of adapting materials is really, really important. That's actually interesting to see that in Russia, your salary depends on the number of hours taught. Goodness. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. In the UK, the teachers' unions have fought very hard against that. But yeah, I can understand. I can understand the pressure you're working under there. That must be very challenging. But that means that having skills in adapting resources becomes really important. I know in Indonesia, similarly, many teachers are pressured into working a morning shift and an afternoon shift in the same school, sometimes without any extra recognition. And that basically means twice the teaching. Very, very tough, very tough. I can already see on some people's faces that some of you have experienced that. So yeah, you have my sympathy, you really do. But yeah, adapting materials, adaptation is absolutely key. And when we're adapting, we're going back to what are our lesson aims? What assumptions do we make about our learners, particularly with younger learners? And I guess the younger the learners are, the more we have to think, what are the literacy burdens involved? This text may be easy to read for a 9-year-old, but almost impossible for a 7-year-old, even with the same level of spoken English. And that could just be because of a difference in literacy development. So we need to be thinking through the assumptions we're making. You'll all know the word scaffolding. I'm sure you're all familiar with scaffolding because it comes up every time. But this is an example of scaffolding when adapting materials, thinking through the burden placed cognitively on the learner in terms of things like literacy, but also, importantly, in terms of pronunciation. I'll come to the pronunciation point in a second, but also thinking through, if we're, say, asking somebody to read a text aloud, and maybe 1/4 of the words they're not sure how to pronounce, their confidence will collapse. There's a difference between 1 or 2 words you're not sure about, you just read them quickly, or maybe you mumble a little bit as you read them. But when it's a large proportion of the text, that's really challenging. That can be very, very challenging. So again, we're thinking through the scaffolding. Levi mentioned earlier, I like to talk about challenge and the level of challenge. If materials are not challenging enough, of course, learners might get bored, they might get distracted. So how can we adapt the task and make it more challenging? If it's a task-based activity, all kinds of things you could do. Ask them to write an extension to the activity, to interpret the activity in a different context, to imagine what the characters did next. There are other ways you can adapt to extend and to be more challenging. Landysh demonstrated some great activities around there. Some of the other insights that Landysh introduced with her adapted activities, things like personalization, making it directly relevant to the learner, allowing the learner to interpret the language, visualization, connecting new vocabulary or new grammar patterns to something they can visualize or imagine. Personalization, visualization are very strong psychological drivers for memory. This is very well established in psychological literature, very well established, the role of personalization and visualization. Those words are important enough that I will put them in the chat. Personalization and visualization, they've connected with strong memory benefits. So Landysh's presentation dealt with adapting materials and shows why it's much more efficient to adapt the materials you've got than it is to create new materials all the time. Oh, something I forgot to say as well. I loved Landysh's use of emojis to respond. This is a good example of adapting for learners who maybe aren't super confident with their literacy. Perhaps asking them to type a response might induce a bit of anxiety, but asking them to choose a pictorial response is less anxiety provoking, particularly for learners who are less confident in their spelling or in their literacy. That was a really good example of how you can adapt using the materials in front of you without having to create new materials. Unfortunately, I can already feel myself thinking, in practice, it's great to adapt, but we don't always have the time to step back and think, okay, use my imagination. How can I make imaginative use of the resources I've got? So sometimes it is important to make sure you physically take a step back and look with fresh eyes at the materials in front of you, so that you're not doing the same thing over and over and becoming demotivated. So that brings me then to Svetlana's presentation. It's fantastic to see pronunciation being taught. So many teachers don't teach it. This is absolutely, sorry to use this word, crazy. There is sometimes I think teachers assume with language learning that lesson 1, we teach you how the letters are pronounced, and then you know, and then after that, we don't need to teach you again, because you'll just sort of get better at it as you go. This is crazy. We wouldn't do that with grammar or vocabulary. So why do it with pronunciation? Of course, we can continue to practice pronunciation and get better and better as we go. We notice pronunciation better and better. Actually, I'll try something quickly. Levi, do you speak any Welsh by any chance?
Just the one that you mentioned it to me before. Did that?
Okay. Oh, not bad, not bad. Okay, the word for congratulations in Welsh is llongyfarchiadau. Can you say that? Okay, never mind. The first sound is hr, hr. Can you say hr? Okay, not bad.
Okay.
Not bad, not bad. So in Welsh, the double L in Welsh is pronounced hl. It's a sound we don't have in English. Most languages don't have this sound. It's like the Russian L, like or, but you at the same time, like hl. So the word for congratulations starts with hl. Okay, now imagine I only told you that once at the beginning of the Welsh course, and I never told you again, and I just expect you to work that out. I just expect you to get better at it. I mean, of course you need to practice it because it's a new sound. Many people here will have learned Arabic. I had the privilege of working in Sudan, I had to learn Arabic working in Sudan. We had to learn the ayn sound from the throat, the ayn. That's a sound that doesn't exist in English. That took a lot of practice. I'm still not very good at it. Is anyone here a native Arabic speaker able to do the ayn? I don't think anyone is, that's okay. But anyway, I'm sure many of you have learned Arabic and had to practice that sound. So you'll know what I mean. If the sound doesn't exist in your language, you can't just do it once and yeah, we know. It doesn't work like that. You have to hear it over and practice it over and over. And this is especially true. I feel me and Svetlana have common cause on this issue. This is especially true not only when it comes to individual sounds, but when it comes to things like connected speech, things like stress time. These things, you know, people don't learn them automatically. You do have to point them out. The stress time principle, in my opinion, I can't prove this, but I've always felt that stress time, the things Svetlana demonstrated with the whole 1 and 2 and 3, and where the gap between each stressed syllable is the same. I believe the stress time principle causes problems with listening right up to advanced level because students aren't aware of it. They're not aware that lots of information is carried in the unstressed part. Why do we not teach this stuff? Why do we not teach pronunciation more? So I was thrilled to see lessons explicitly on pronunciation because it is so important, so important. And again, actually, to relate to a question that came up earlier, a lot of student confidence with being willing to speak in class is because of embarrassment around pronunciation. Lots of people are basically scared to speak out loud because they're worried their pronunciation will be wrong or will be marked. When I was young, my mum said to me, you can tell if somebody is a good reader because they will mispronounce a lot of words. That's because they've read their vocabulary ahead of their knowledge of how to pronounce them. So when I hear students mispronounce difficult words, I think, oh, that's really good. That's a sign that you're reading. So this is great. And actually, and again, as Svetlana mentioned in answering questions, if students are struggling with the pronunciation, that means they're ready to hear from you what the correct pronunciation is. They're ready to learn. Another secret for you all, by the way, lots of native speakers don't know how to pronounce certain words. There are certain words that all of us disagree on, and where some of us are we correct each other, we're not entirely sure. Just this morning, a friend of mine who's a native speaker said the word panacea, and I thought, panacea? And I was like, oh, panacea, like a solution for everything. It's a complicated word, don't worry. And he was like, no, panacea. And I was like, panacea? And he was like, no, panacea. I was like, panacea. Both of us now are questioning our whole education up until now. We're both native speakers, and we went to the same primary school. So goodness knows where things went wrong in our education since then. But pronunciation is a real barrier to confidence as well. And for that reason, addressing pronunciation and continuously addressing it is great because it normalizes the idea that there's nothing to be embarrassed about if you don't know how to pronounce individual words, or if your accent isn't great. It's quite normal to want to work continuously on your pronunciation and on your accent. As it happens, I know Levy is a fan of world Englishes, so am I. It doesn't matter if you still have, say, an Indonesian accent or a Russian accent. That's fine, you're allowed to have that. You can still have perfect pronunciation, but it's a perfect Russian English or a perfect Indonesian English. That's still fine. There's nothing wrong with having your accent, but there are still things you can always be doing to make it clearer, maybe, or to make it less ambiguous, or to be more subtle, to communicate more subtlety or more nuance. So this is not to say there's anything wrong with a non-native accent, because there isn't. There absolutely isn't anything wrong with that. As it happens, I mentioned the example of Welsh earlier. I'm not a native Welsh speaker. My accent is very far from a native Welsh accent, but I communicate fine, and I keep working on it. I keep working on my pronunciation, but I'm not embarrassed about the fact that I'm not Welsh. I'm just not. It's okay. I'm allowed to not be. That's fine. I did Chinese at university. I certainly don't look Chinese, so no one believes I'm native. On that note, though, with pronunciation, non-native teachers, so if you're not a native English speaker yourself, but you're teaching pronunciation, you may feel a lack of confidence in your own pronunciation. Sometimes I know some teachers feel that. That's quite normal. And it's okay to be upfront with your students about that. I mean, your students probably know that, you know, if you're not native, they probably know. You don't have to be embarrassed about that. You can tell them that you're still learning as well, or you can find a model from YouTube. You can find resources to check if you're worried about individual words. Having myself taught a second language before, I've sometimes had to very, very quickly before a lesson, wait, I'm just going to check pronunciation of individual words here because I'm not 100% sure. So that's also important, and it's nothing to be embarrassed about if you need to do that. Another point that I felt Svetlana communicated very clearly, pronunciation teaching can actually be fun. Sometimes, I think sometimes when teachers are keen to correct it, for example, if we're teaching the th, I've seen teachers before do things like, no, it's th. Everyone stop, look at my lips, th. I mean, like, that's just scary. Like, I think for the kids involved, that's not going to be a fun lesson. There's so many more fun ways you can do it. We saw things like using tongue twisters, practicing speed dictation, and so on. Choral drilling can be energizing. You can do back chaining, which is choral drilling, but when you start from the end and you go back syllable by syllable. I write that word because it's maybe not familiar. Back chaining. Drilling. There's all kinds of techniques you can use to make it fun and to make it more varied. So thank you once again to Svetlana for sharing some inspiration on pronunciation. It's so important, and I'm so pleased to see it being taught like explicitly and directly. It's really important. That's everything from me. Thank you for listening, and hope you found that useful.
I found it useful, Rich. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much, Rich, for the inspiring review as usual. Yeah. And you were going to meet Rich again and me again next month and the following months if you like. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that will be all for today's sessions. Thank you so much for everyone. Yeah. I personally really feel inspired today, especially regarding the pronunciations stuff. Yeah. Because as Rich said, I'm this kind of teacher who doesn't really teach that in my class. Okay. Now I'd like to share everyone the hold on a second, the link to the attendance list and also the feedback. So please spend some time to hold on a second. I'm copying it. Okay. All right, it's there. Yeah. So please click on the link. It doesn't matter if you will fill it later after this meeting, yeah, but please do click the link right now because it's going to be disappeared when the meeting close and stop. Yeah, so that's the attendance confirmations and also the feedback. We will really appreciate your feedback. Yeah, that would be great to hear from you. What can we do better to give you more benefit from the sessions? Yeah. And we'll meet again next month, yeah, on April. That will be, I think, 27th. So wait, no, 24th of April. Yeah, so we'll meet again with a different speaker, with a different topics. Yeah, and I hope you'll come back again. And also, please take your colleague. Yes, so the more the merrier, because in this forum, the speakers and the participants and everyone involved in this forum is valuable. Yes, so we really value your contacts and also your tips. Yeah. Okay, I think that will be all from me as the moderator. Now I'll hand it back to you, Dean. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Wait a minute. Okay. I think it's time for us to take a picture, right?
Yay.
Group picture. Okay, wait. Before I close this session, let's us give our best smile, and please open your cam if you like, and we can start to, wait a minute. I need to remove my spotlight. Okay. Okay, it's 22 participants now. Yep. Are you ready? Levi, would you please back up to bring the screen?
I will.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Okay. Want to have some more? Or is it enough? Okay, Levi.
No, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So we are already come to an end for today's session. Once again, I want to send my gratitude to Miss Landysh and also Ms. Svetlana for sharing those practical ideas and best practices. Thank you so much. And also the facilitators, Levi and Rich. And before I close this session, make sure you fill the attendance and the feedback form, because we're eager to hear from you to be better for the next session, right? And we hope you learn something and apply those ideas shared by our speakers in your classroom and my classroom too. And once again, thank you so much for your participation. You're all great teachers. Thanks for sharing experiences, best practice, and our thoughts. And see you next month. Goodbye and see you later, everyone. To Teachers Talk next month. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you, everyone.